This morning we will discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 4, the process of creation. Text 18 is a famous verse quoted many times by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiyayat Nastuvesya Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavata Tamastoke Bhakti Bhavati Nanstiki Kirata Unandra Pulinda Pulkasa Mabira Sumbaya Vanakasadayam Yen ye sapapa yatapasraja sraja sudyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. Word for word translation. Kirata, a province of old Bharat. Una, part of Germany and Russia. Andhra, a province of southern India. Pulinda, the Greeks. Pulkasa, another province. Abira, part of old Sindh. Samba, another province. Yavana, the Turks. Kasa-Adaya, the Mongolian province. Ye, even those. Anye, others. Cha, also. Papaha, addicted to simple acts. Yat, whose. Apasraya, asraya. Apasraya, asraya. Having taken shelter of the devotees of the Lord, Sudyanti, at once purified, Tasmahi, unto him, Prabha Vishnave, until the powerful Vishnu, Namaha, my respectful obeisances. Translation and purport by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Kiratas, Unas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkasas, Abiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, members of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to its being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. Kirata, a province of old Bharatvarsha mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the aboriginal tribes of India, and in modern days, Santal Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might comprise the old province named Kirata. Huna, the area of East Germany and parts of Russia, is known as the province of Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of hill tribe is known as the Hunas. Andhra, a province in southern India mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. It still extant under the same name. Pulinda, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata, Sabha Parva 26:10. the inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. The country was conquered by Bhimashen and Sahadev. The Greeks are known as Pulindas and is mentioned in the Vana Purana of Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world would rule the world. This Pulindas province was also one of the province of Bharat, and the inhabitants were classified amongst the Kshatriya kings. But later on, due to their giving up the Brahminical culture, they were mentioned as mlechas, just as those who are not followers of the Islamic culture are called kafirs, and those who are not followers of the Christians are called heathens. Abira. This is also mentioned. This name also appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province was situated on the river Sarasvati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended to the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as the Abiras. They were under the domination of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and according to the statements of Markandeya, the mlechas of this part of the world will also rule over Bharat. Later on, this proved to be true, as in the case of the Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India. On behalf of the Abiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abiras were formerly Kshatriyas within the Brahminical culture, but they gave up the connection. The Kshatriyas who were afraid of Parasuram and had hidden themselves in the Caucasian hilly regions later on became known as Abiras, and the place they inhabited was known as Abirades. The Sumbas or Kankas. The inhabitants of the Kanka province of Old Bharat is mentioned in the Mahabharata. The Yavanas. Yavana was the name of one of the sons of Maharaj Jayati, who was given the part of the world known as Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas, due to being descendants of Maharaj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas, and later on, by giving up the Brahminical culture, they became Mlecha Yavanas. Description of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata. A prince called Turvasu was also known as Yavana, Adi Parva 8:26, and his country was conquered by Sahadev, one of the Pandavas. The western Yavanas joined with Duryodhana in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Under the pressure of Karna, it was foretold that these Yavanas would conquer India, and it proved to be true. Kasa, the inhabitants of Kasa, these are mentioned in the Mahabharata. Drona Parva, those who have stunted growth of hair, and the upper lip are generally called Kasas. As such, the Kasas are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above-mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible to the standard of perfect human beings if they take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Mohammed, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the version of Srila Shukadev Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name and style of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already been started. Then, by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world, because the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to affect such change by purifying the dust-worn minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda, and in seeing that the valuable life of a human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, would be guided by the good counsel of the devotees, then certainly there would be a great change in the world situation by purifying propaganda of the devotees, as shown by Lord Chaitanya. As Sukadev Goswami began one of his prayers with the words Yat Kirtanam, so also Lord Chaitanya recommended that simply by glorification of the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place, by which a complete misunderstanding between the human nations created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other profits will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead, as we have several times discussed in these pages. According to the cult of devotion, generally known as the Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. A Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn even the Kiratas, as mentioned before, as mentioned above. In Bhagavad Gita 9:32, it is said by the Lord that there is no bar of becoming a devotee for the Lord, even for those who are low born, or for women, Sudras, or Vaishyas. And whoever becomes a devotee is eligible to return home back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord who has thorough knowledge of the transcendental signs of Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the signs of Krishna becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by purification of the heart. Though a person be even the most simple man, yet once can be purified by the systematic contact with a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, therefore, can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste, creed, and promoting by regulative principles of the status of a pure Vaishnava who is transcendental to Brahminical culture. The system of caste or Varnashram Dharma is no longer regular, even amongst the so-called followers of the system. Nor is it now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution without any reference to the particular custom of a country. One can be accepted into the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So by the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental cult. Such cultural propaganda by devotees will certainly be accepted by all persons who are reasonable and inquisitive without any particular bias for the custom of the country. The Vaishnava never accepts another Vaishnava on the basis of birthright, just as he never thinks of the deity of the Lord in the temple as an idol. And to remove all doubts in this connection, Shukadev Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord who is all-powerful, Prabhavishnave Namaha, just as stone, wood, or metal is transcendently changed when the all-powerful Lord in his form as the worshipful deity in the temple accepts the humble service of his devotees in the devotional activities of Archana, or the body of a pure Vaishnava at once changes transcendentally when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunctions of the Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Ashe Vishnu Siladir Guru Su Naramatir Vaishnave Chati Buddhihi Shri Vishnu Namni Mantre Sabda Samaya Buddhi, etc. One should consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple to be an idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master an ordinary man, nor should one consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste, nor should one consider the Hare Krishna mantra a material sound vibration, etc. Patna Purana. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all-powerful, can under any and every circumstance accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as the spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than Varnashramites, and he himself declares to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is an eternal servant of the Lord, who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan, Lord Krishna. Madhya Deva Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 13, text 80. That is the way of self-realization. So I read the verse once again. Tirata Nandra Pulinda Pulkasa Abhira Sumba Yavana Kasadaya Ye Sapadaya Tapasvacha Sraya Sudyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. Tirata Ondra Unas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkasas, Abhiras, Tumbas, Yavanas, members of the Kasa races, and even other addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the Lord, of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisance to him. Om Ajnana Timranasya Janjana Shakya Chakshurmiritam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chichaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shvam Rupkadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiyo Shiyudapadakalam Shirum Vaishnavam Sham Shirupam Jagajatam Saganragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhajat Pate Gopesha Gopka Kantarad Kant Namastate Tapta Kanchna Gaurang Hirade Vrindavanashpre Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Hari Priye Pancha Kalpadobhisha, Kripasan Vevisha, Pranam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Namo. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasad Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravanya Pacharine, Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Zatani. Hare Krishna. This was a very long purport of Srila Prabhupada, that all these races are described here. Simple races, so not following any principles, meat eaters, and so on. And interesting is, I remember in my youth we studied, of course, because I'm from Belgium, we studied European history. The Germans, before many centuries ago, they were called the Hunnen, and here is Honduras, with the same name. Of course, in China, even today, the Hare Krishna movement is not recognized. They are even prosecuting devotees there. And devotees, when they communicated, in their written communications, they would never use the word China. They would use the name Kashadas, as mentioned here. Kashadas is China. But yes, the principle that is explained is that this process of devotional service can purify everyone who takes to it. That even the most sinful, and we see, of course, Lord Chaitanya, Nama Mahavadanya, Krishna Prema Padayati, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Nama Gaud Vishenama, is Krishna Prema Padayati. The Lord Chaitanya gives Krishna Prema to everyone without consideration of their situation. But we see that, like Lord Nityananda, Lord Nityananda was born of a Brahmin family. Adai Pandit was his father, I think. Yes, and they were Brahmins. And of course, the father of Lord Chaitanya, Charanath Mishra, he was also a Brahmin. So Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya were from Brahmin background. But Lord Nityananda was thinking that he wanted to glorify Lord Chaitanya as Namama Vranya, as the most magnanimous. And therefore he decided, with Prabhupada says, with risk of his life, to liberate Madai and Jagai and Madai, who were also Brahmins, but they became completely sinful, murdering people, raping women, and so on. There was no end of their sinful activities, and always drunken. And everyone avoided them because they knew if we go near to them, we are risking our lives. But Lord Nityananda wanted them to receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And with risk of his life, he approached them begging, please take to these holy names. That so that is the the power of the process of devotional service. Of course, it purifies one. If we chant the holy name, then we purify our heart, and then we come to goodness. Then factually we get the qualification of a Brahmin. Becoming a Brahmin is just a stage in the process of devotional service. Because when the heart is purified, then when one chants holy name, one develops love for God, love for Krishna. So that happens after liberation. But it doesn't matter what your background is. By chanting of the holy names, you become purified. And all the Western devotees, mostly they were meat eaters before, so they know that they gave everything up very easy to the process of devotional service. So this is the purifying potency. But still, in the time of Lord Chaitanya, nobody could be given initiation with, but one could not give initiation to a non-Brahmin. That was unheard of. That unless you were born in a Brahmin family, you could not get initiated. You could not worship the deity and so on. But this process of the chant of the holy name is so powerful that it purifies one. So therefore, the qualification for worship the deity is that you chant the holy names for a long period and become purified, and then you are recommended for second initiation. That of course that we have added a few conditions to that. One must also have Bhakti Shastri and so on. But these are external things that there are other considerations for that because the qualities of a Brahman they are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 18th chapter, of course, text 41. There we have the qualities of a Brahman. It's text 41. No, it's 41 is general. It's 42. Sama Damastapat Sham Chir Aryavameva Shakyanam Vishyanamastakyam Brahma Karma Svabhavacham. So these are the qualities of a Brahmin: is peaceful, self-controlled, austere, pure, tolerant, honest, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmins work. So that's the reason why we need Bhakti Shastri to get Brahminical initiation, because there is knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. That knowledge, wisdom means you are quite acquainted with the basic principles in the scriptures. So that is required. But of course, even it's interesting, even Lord Chaitanya, he would not give Brahmin initiation to non-Brahmins. He respected the caste system. That's interesting. But then later, especially the Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he stressed this point of the purity of devotional service. It doesn't matter your background. Everyone can be initiated in the chanting of the holy name. That because the reality is, if one becomes a devotee, he becomes higher than a Brahmin. Becoming a Brahmin is just the stage, getting the Brahminical qualities. But after getting Brahminical qualities, one must develop Vaishnava qualities, higher qualities. These Vaishnava qualities are mentioned in the scriptures in many ways, but especially Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita 26 qualities of pure devotees. Yes, so these are Vaishnava qualities that it's higher than just self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance. Because self-control, austerity, purity, it means, yes, one purifies oneself and becomes peaceful. That's nice. And that's the peaceful is the platform where we are not disturbed anymore by attachment and aversion. Attachment and aversion, what gives pleasure to the body, attached to, we don't want what gives us pain, and this attachment and aversion disturbs our mind. Tayaprita Shaitasham, it disturbs the mind. That people in this age are always disturbed. But if they chant the holy name and hear the Bhagavatam, then their envy will go away from their heart, and they will become peaceful. As also Prabhupada mentions this in the purport. The politicians, they create so much upheaval and problems. But if people take to the spiritual path and chant the holy name and hear Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, this envy that will go. That in this purpose we are today, also very interesting, Prabhupada glorifies Jesus Christ and Mohammed. He said they did a good job by spreading God consciousness. That interesting to read this appreciation for that. They are also servants of God, servants of Krishna. So this, but then of course it was really Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Prabhupada's spiritual master, who started to give initiation, who started to give Brahmin initiation to non-Brahmins, that non-Brahmins by birth. And that caused a long life enmity between him and the Smarta Brahmins, Karmakanda Brahmins, that because they wanted to keep their monopoly on religion, and only they could do all the samskaras and all the rituals and so on. That was their income. So they became worried, and they tried so many ways. Many times they tried to murder Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was fearless. Once in Mayapur, because the Smarta Brahmins had hired criminals to kill him, and they were running after Maharaj. And he was also running, but then there was an exchange of clothes with a disciple, and the disciple was running in the clothes of his spiritual master, and these robbers, these criminals, followed him. and Maharaj could climb in a tree. And anyway, there's so many stories about that. But then later, Srila Prabhupada continued, and then Prabhupada was given initiation to non non-Indians, not from Bharat. Never heard about that. So first, a sannyasi should not cross over the ocean, it is said. Prabhupada did on the order of his spiritual master. And he gave initiation to Westerners. So when he came back in India, there was a great protest from many Hindu leaders that this Swamiji is ruining Hinduism. When Prabhupada came in Jagannath Puri, there some pandas came to him and they started to shout to Prabhupada that you are giving Brahmin initiation to unclean Westerners and so on. And Prabhupada did not say anything. But angry, they shouted for 20 minutes. But after 20 minutes, they realized becoming angry is not the quality of a Brahmin. Prabhupada remains peaceful. And they understood, and they just went away. But this is in the scriptures. Narada Muni says that also in the, I think it's in 9th canto, that one is a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Brahman, or Sudra by qualifications. If one has the qualifications, one should accept it, be accepted to these different classes. That is in the scriptures. But that idea is so deep. And 40 years ago, one of ISKCON devotees in Vrindavan went to temples in Vrindavan, visiting temples. And he came in contact with the priest of these temples, and the priest said, "Oh, yeah, from ISKCON, very nice." So in your next life, you will take birth as a Brahmin. And the devotee came to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, and he said you should go back and tell him that he's very fortunate. In his next life, he will take birth in ISKCON. But yeah, this is even up today, that Western devotees are not really accepted generally in India as Brahmins. That is still against the culture. That so many things that good. This is what I could say on this verse. Any questions or comments, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the class. It is amazing to hear these different races or provinces which Srila Prabhupada has explained. So it seems that, and this is just a comment, not a question, but it seems like far reach of the Vedic lifestyle earlier, when the world might be much closer or together. Yeah. But if we tell any modern person this, they may doubt about this.
Yeah, that's true. But if you look at the Russian language, like also the Bulgarian language, it's closer to India, and they have still the same way, the same grammar rules. Many grammar rules are very, very similar to Sanskrit, and many words are just the same. So there there's certainly a connection between their language with the Sanskrit language. It's difficult, more difficult to make it with English language, but even the Latin language has also a very jammer, and yeah, that's it is. There are many similarities, uh, and, and that mm, that cannot be denied. That's there. That is there. Yeah, that. But to make the comparison with English, yeah, it's more difficult. That's true. But anything
Yes,
else?
thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, then we will continue tomorrow. Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, His
Hare
Holiness
Bol,
Bhakti Prabha Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Bol.